Do you want to increase your views, your subscribers, your successes on your YouTube gaming channel? Are you just starting a YouTube gaming channel and you need help getting it off the ground? That's why every last minute of this video, this presentation, is a must watch for you. Let's get started. Now, for starters, we're not changing what we do here on the Emceemur show, all right? I'm not becoming a YouTube help channel, but I am offering some YouTube help. And where better to announce that than right here on the channel for those of you that would be interested in this kind of thing. There are a lot of things that a lot of YouTube gurus are not telling you. And for starters, it's just about everything that you're gonna hear in this presentation today, all right? Stuff that's very important, extremely crucial for both established content creators and new creators alike. The following is a recording of my panel this year at SFGE 2023 YouTube Gaming Content Creator Strategies. That's right. Which in a nutshell is the first 45 minutes of my class that I'm offering for, again, existent content creators as well as ones just getting started. It's very helpful information. It's crucial information. These are one-on-one YouTube help consultations that you can book online with me, Emceemur, by either following me and DMing me at Emceemur on Twitter or emailing me at the address shown here and in the description of this video. You skeptical? No worries. Stick around until the end of the presentation, right? All the information here is free. I'm going to be giving you a lot of it. And I guarantee you that by the end of this presentation, you are going to be more fired up than you've ever been to create the best gaming content of your YouTube journey thus far. Without further ado, let's get into it.
All right, well, we got about a minute to go here, so we might as well kick this off. Welcome to YouTube Gaming Content Creator Strategies with your host, yours truly, Emceemur. Saw some of you here last year. How many of you are here for the first time for SFGE? Excellent. Well, welcome, and if you're going to go to a con or an expo, this is the one to hit. The real million-dollar question, how many of you in here already have up and running YouTube channels? And I'm going to assume the rest of you must have some interest in creating one. So that's what we're here to do today. We're talking about strategies, results, what it takes to get into this the right way, to have the solid foundation to create gaming content. These are all things that if I had known when I started out, I'd be a lot further along now. And you know, it's nobody's duty to come tell you how to do everything, but it sure is nice if somebody will do that. So that's why I decided to do this panel this year. We've done game hunting stuff in the past, but wanted to do something different this year. So this is what we're doing. And we're gonna kick it right off with the most important thing that you can do as a gaming channel, to define a topic with a narrow focus. So when I got started in this, I thought I was gonna be all things gaming to all people gaming, and that can't happen because that's not going to create an audience that's going to stick with everything you do. If it gets too widespread, you're going to have pockets of people that show up for this this video, pockets of people that show up for this video, but nobody's going to be all in on what you're doing. And it's hard to get to a point where you're like, okay, you know, this is the one thing I want to do, but it's got to be done. So let's just start off with some of the bullet points here. To establish whether or not the model is sustainable or potentially successful. And what that means is you got to think about what you're doing. Let's say you want to do a genre, or you want to do a whole channel just on one game. That's great, but you've got to look and see if there's an audience for that. If you're going to do a channel on a game that was online only and it was popular 10 years ago, you know, that it could be very cool, but it's just not going to sustain itself over time. And everything that we're going to talk about today is based on research, analytics, stuff that I've done, stuff I've seen other people do, things that have just gone wrong. It's going to be a lot of what not to do, but there's going to be a lot of what to do as well. So you want to decide where you're going with this right off the bat and decide what type of channel you're going to want to be. And you're going to need to do your research looking at other channels that may be doing the same thing. And just because they're doing those same things doesn't mean you shouldn't do it too. In fact, it's important to make sure that what you're doing is already established, that there already is a user base, a viewer base, people looking for what you're doing. Because if you can't find that, chances are whatever you're doing, no one's looking for it, and it's going to be very hard to get it off the ground. By sustainable, I mean too, you've got to look and see these channels you see that got a lot of views on these specific topics. Are they still around? You know, how long ago was their last upload? Are they still doing well? I've seen so many channels do so great, better than what I was doing, but then they slow down and they just stop, and then they're just gone. And you know, life dictates change sometimes, but sometimes you can look and just see, look, this stopped working for this person and they stopped. So a lot of research that has to be done right off the bat. So that ties into the second thing. Research similar channels to confirm the idea and the topic is viable. That's what that is. Create better, not new, something searchable and already being searched. You should be able to type whatever this is and it comes right up, right? There should be a lot of results on this. And then you can also say, well, I don't want to get lost in an infinite sea of whatever this is if it's just too overblown. But you know, the challenges with that come later on, and you can get through those things. It's all about narrowing down what you want to do in that space and making it unique enough to where you will be able to tap in to that viewer base for what it is that you're doing. So here's something that I failed to do early on, and I think most people do, because if you watch the gurus, and you know, God bless them, some of them are really good, some of them not so much, but a lot of them tell you just get in there and start making videos, and yeah, you can do that, but I did that, and you know, years later I was floundering to get done all the things that I should have done in the beginning. If all this stuff is in place when you start, it's going to be so much better for you. To establish the logo, banner, branding, intro, all that at the very beginning, who you are, define all that before you start so that you're not looking for it later, because that branding is very important. People are going to want to be able to see, oh, it's this guy again, I'm clicking on that, you know, because gaming is such a saturated market right now. A lot of what we're going to talk about applies to any type of content, it really does. But the gaming space is so huge, you've really got to make sure that you stand out. And these are all things I'm going to be able to help with. I'll mention that I am going to be getting into private consultation after this presentation, individually with people, and you know, I've got contact information on the cards that you've seen in your seats out there. I'm going to be setting up things with people to go one-on-one and apply these things directly to the channels, what you're trying to do. But a lot of this is stuff that you can take from this presentation today and just get going and do it the right way. So about the work to save time, kind of what I was just talking about. I'm available to do some of that, but don't spend a lot of time Googling how to do all these things when you can pay somebody, you know, 15 bucks to get that logo, that banner, branding, a good intro, and all that, and just, again, be started out right. And the reason I've specified short at the beginning, I still see so many intros that are just painfully long, and you got to remember people's attention spans are painfully short. A good intro is 3 to 5 seconds and nothing more. It can still be very good at that length too, but I mean, I've seen intros that are like 30 seconds. Can't do it. This is not a sitcom. People are just going to leave. They're not going to watch. So it's very important to keep it short and sweet, but effective, something that's got impact. Except that the first channel may be a throwaway, like a pancake. I hate to say that, but it is true. I've often considered that because I started just all over the place in gaming, that my channel's growth is stunted, and it is, right? I mean, we're almost to 10,000 subscribers now, which is great. I'm very grateful for that, but I know that it could be more. It could have been more had I started out with all of this advice that we're going to go over today. These strategies decrease the odds that that first channel's a throwaway, right? I mean, if it turns out that what you're doing, there's just not the viewer base you thought there was going to be, and you've got to switch up, you may end up making a new channel. Or you may be able to take what you have and maybe take a left or right turn and still be okay. But again, when you're getting on the good foot like this, I've already started a second channel on something completely different just for the heck of it, just playing around, and it already has done remarkably better than my gaming channel ever did in those, first 2 years. And it's amazing to see what a difference it makes. And I'm not tying it to the gaming stuff either, so it's not getting any help from that. It's just its own thing. So we're seeing these things at work. Do not adapt the common philosophies or attitudes. And I hear this a lot, and I know people, there's reasons for having this outlook, but once it becomes work, I'll quit. It's gonna be work. It's gonna be work. I put in 20 hours per video, usually. And it doesn't have to be that bad, but it's gonna be work, and you're gonna have to really acquire skills if you don't have them. I didn't. And if you do have them, you're gonna have to work, and it has to be a labor of love, right? I mean, if you don't enjoy it, I would recommend don't get into it anyway. I love creating content. It's fun. It's like painting a picture, and every editor, every creator's got their own style, and that should resonate. That should come, you should get that from what they're making from each person. Also, I've got it in quotes here, and I hear this all the time. I'm gonna make whatever I want. Also, I don't care if anyone watches. If you can honestly say you don't care if anybody watches, that's cool, because there are people that are just farting around. When I made my channel, I didn't think anybody was gonna watch it either, but 9,000 and some subscribers later, I've got people that are looking for my videos each week. So, I mean, that's pretty neat. When you think about how that scales too, think about how many people that is in a room. I mean, that's crazy. But yeah, you're not gonna make whatever you want. In a sense, you're gonna start where you wanna start, but what gets the views is gonna dictate your successes, and you're gonna see what worked, what works early on, and then we're gonna talk about doubling, tripling, quadrupling down on those successes. That is gonna end up defining what you are and to whom you are those things for. Prepare to constantly improve. And this is something that I try to make myself do. Find at least one thing after each video you create that you need to improve, and make sure it gets done. Make sure that's done as of the next video. If it requires a small investment, maybe there's parts you need, better lighting, I don't know. Look into it, but it has to be done. And that's when it comes down to assessing your current gear and strategizing around it. A lot of people ask, what kind of gear do I need to get started in a YouTube creator space? The good news is well, you have it, right? Everybody's got a phone. And I know that's the bare bones, but I'm gonna tell you, I started with a phone and a $15 lav mic clip-on, which I still use because the audio on it's really good for just a cheap, rinky-dink piece of crap. So, there's no need to think you need a $1,000 camera and a $5,000 computer. That's awesome if you have those things, but you can get started really cheap. And there's lighting options that are super cheap as well. Everything's on Amazon. It doesn't cost a lot to get started, but you should look at everything you make and think about what's not right about it, what you personally would like to be better about it. And then listen to your comments too, because there's gonna be people that say, hey man, this sucks and this is why. And that's valuable feedback. It's not, it's easy to, misconstrue it for trolling, but that's valuable feedback. I try to learn from every negative thing I get, as long as it's not somebody hurling obscenities or something. But a lot of times people will tell you what they expected, and if you can meet those demands, a lot of times you can flip those people and they'll become subs for life. And they'll feel invested too. It's like, hey, I made that. I invested in that. So now we're really getting started here, the setup. This is the meat and potatoes, so buckle up. And again, if you want to take notes, take notes. Is anybody that wants to do an hour, 2 hours of consulting with me, if you've already been through this, then you're already gonna have a lot under your belt. We're gonna be able to get right down to business and waste no time on the setup stuff. Install your Google extensions. It's YouTube, right? It's Google. And I gotta recommend vidIQ first and foremost. No, I'm not affiliated with any of these things. These are just things that I use personally and I've had luck with. vidIQ as a plugin is gonna work all over your YouTube dashboard. You're gonna have your SEO score, which is paramount, because you gotta see that SEO score, your search engine optimization. If you can't see that number, you're fighting blind. It means a lot more than you think it does, because these are all things that the algorithm looks at, whether or not a piece of content at the moment of upload is actually viable enough to make visible. And if it's not, it may never be, no matter how good your stuff is. And if nobody sees it, then it doesn't matter how good it is. It's not, the quality stops helping at that point. vidIQ has also got lots of plugins for your tags, recommendations, and as you're inserting your tags, and we'll get into all this, but you're going to be able to see the score go up. You're going to be able to see what's working. It offers AI options for your titles, so you can put in your title, but then see its variations on it, like, hey, this might work better. And there's ways to research and check that out before you upload and make sure that you're working with the best title possible. Everything in the descriptions, the meat and potato that you need, and the tags working for you. TubeBuddy is also a good one. Some people prefer it, but you can really use both. It doesn't hurt to have both plugins, and they're both going to put stuff all over your dashboard as you're in the upload screen that you're going to be able to use and look right at and make sure that you're doing things the right way. And again, we're going to get into all that and how that works as we go. Download the corresponding apps to your phone too, because TubeBuddy also tracks your view counts, likes, dislikes, comments. It's got its own tools within app that you can use to respond to people, and it's got some really great stuff as far as that goes. The reporting from YouTube as far as the view counts that you're getting, likes, dislikes, etc., is always different. You're going to get things in YouTube Studio, you're going to get things in Social Blade, you're going to get things in TubeBuddy, and they're going to be different figures, but it's good to get all the different reports because the highest number is usually the right one. So it helps you really keep an accurate look at what your channel and what each respective upload is doing. And you've got to measure those successes early on. What happens in the first week, the first day, even the first hour of a video is paramount. And you're going to want to be breaking that down to make sure that these things are performing for you. Greased lightning performance. The second one here is install YouTube Studio, of course, and Social Blade apps. You got to have those. YouTube Studio is your best friend. And I'm going to quote the guru people again, too. They're always like, don't look at YouTube Studio. Don't get so wrapped up in checking your numbers. No, check your numbers. Check them a lot. Check them a lot, because you're going to miss something if you don't. You don't know if this stuff's performing for you if you're not checking your numbers. YouTube Studio's got the great feature that shows you the last 10 videos that you did and how the last one you did is doing against those last 10. That's very important. You got to know that you're on an upward trajectory all the time, and that if suddenly you start to dip, why it happened. And there's so many tools on YouTube Studio that are going to come right out and slap you in the face with that information. Like, hey, look, people stopped watching my video at 5 minutes. What did I do? Maybe it got boring. Maybe you talked too long. Maybe you passed gas. I don't know. But you've got to look and find out. It's there to really help you break this stuff down. And it sounds tedious, but if you really put the time in and you see your stuff performing better and better, you're going to be more into what you're doing because you got people that are really looking forward to what you're putting out. Establish an upload schedule based on the traffic reports from YouTube Studio and vidIQ. Again, they're going to give you those things. vidIQ will do it right there on your dashboard, right there on the upload screen of the video, your best times to upload. And what that is a measurement of the users, the people subscribed to your channel, when they're on. When are the people that are watching what you do on this platform? And obviously that's a great tool, because if you can upload right at or just a little before those peak times, the notifications from those videos are likely going to pop up on these people's phones. And you use YouTube. You know when you get a, hey, this guy just uploaded, this gal just uploaded, boom, I'm going to watch that. You know how it works. So it's got to work the same way for the people that watch you. You're going to want to catch them when they're getting off work or taking a lunch break or a 30-minute on-shift dump. I don't know, whatever it is they do. Whenever they watch YouTube, you want to make sure you're catching them, and both those apps can tell you what times those are. Those times change too. That's kind of a moving goalpost, so you really got to stay up on that. And if there are questions, I'm going to have plenty of time at the end for y'all to hit me up with whatever you want to hit me up about. But oh my God, we got so much to get through. All right, setup, continue. Ideally, a minimum of 2 uploads a week. And this is where I'm having trouble personally. But I got to follow my own advice too. 2 uploads per week. And the reason is you got to have frequency. People want frequency. Really, you could do 3 to 4 uploads if you could do it. And that'll be by working, smarter and not harder. But depending on what you do, again, the type of stuff I do is a pretty big ask as far as the production standpoint. So I'm good if I can get 1, let alone 2. That does hurt me. You can look in your vidIQ plugin, second thing here, the channel audit. This is all on your YouTube dashboard once you've got the vidIQ plugin installed. You'll sign into it with your Google and everything. It's really easy to set up. That channel audit tells you, hey, your titles are too long, or hey, you're not uploading enough. You'll have all these helpful charts that are going to show you what content performed, what didn't, and what your competitors are doing. That's another thing that people, oh, don't look at what other people are doing. Don't worry about what, no. Worry about what other people are doing. Worry about what people are doing that succeed. Also worry about the failures, because you can stop yourself from wasting your own time on something that's dead in the water. It's really important to observe those trends and to really see what's happening in your space. If you're not watching everything, you're inevitably going to miss something that could really help push you forward. Again, I'm moving right into the third thing before I've even said it. Perform self-audits. That's what that screen is for, the channel audit. But you got to do a self-audit too. This is where you actually go in and you audit yourself. You've got to observe your view to sub ratios, and I'm going to pull that up here. I've got a whole separate note on that. I like to play a game with the view to sub ratios, and a lot of people say that there's not much merit to looking at that, but I don't find that there's merit in not looking at things. I find there's merit in looking at things. This is going to be a bit of a baseball metaphor. Now think of it this way. If you've got 500 subscribers, you make a video and it gets 17 views, it flopped, right? It's not working. They say, and when I say they, I mean creators at large and people in the guru space too, you want about a 10% view to sub ratio, meaning that if I had 500 subs, I should get at least 50 views on a video. And even that's not great. I mean, I've kind of proven with my second channel that you can still get 700 to 1,000 views with sub counts that low if you're doing the right stuff. But as things progress and you're doing your normal content, it's not all going to be bangers. It's not all going to just fly off the hook every single time. It might, but you can at least do this audit. I take it a step further and say that 10% is not enough. I think for a truly healthy channel, and I think about this when I observe channels too to see if what they're doing is working, you want to see a 20% view to sub ratio. If a guy's got just under 1,000 subs, maybe he's not monetized yet, and that's cool, you want to be seeing about 200 to 300 views per video. Otherwise, there's just nothing going on, right? There's a little bit of traction though at 20%. So I call that hitting a single, right? It's a hit. You only got to first base, but it did connect. And it could still potentially grow, right? I mean, because when you're making evergreen content, and you hope in most cases you will be, you're going to still get some growth and some views after that first initial week, and hopefully it'll continue to work for you. It could even blow up after the fact. You just can't always count on that, but you hope that it will. And you hope that overall that's a stable connection made with your existing sub base, because that's paramount. 40% view to sub ratio, that's the double, right? This vid got some good traffic, but there's a chance it actually connected with more of the sub base. And it's worth doubling down on that content at that point. When you've made a video that's pulling in those kind of numbers, don't just stop. And I see so many creators, they make this one great video that gets like 3,500 views when all their other stuff is barely cracking 100. And then they don't do it anymore. They go back to doing the stuff that was getting 100. Oh, it's time for episode 520 of me streaming Resident Evil. It's like, bro, no. You just got 4,000 views with this, and I don't care what this is. He should have done it again. She should have done it again. That's the stuff you got to double down on. And beyond that, 60% view to sub, that's hitting a triple. 75%. Or 1,000 views or more, whichever is higher, you've hit a home run, right? Especially in those opening stages when you're under 1,000 subs. That's amazing numbers. You've got something. And as we talked about in the slides previous to this one, that's what defines the channel. When you get those hits on maybe 2 or 3 or maybe even just one type of content, one very narrow focus, congrats. That's what your channel is now. If you did a Call of Duty video and it just popped off, okay, guess what? You're a Call of Duty channel now. You gotta, it's not just baseball, it's like football. You caught the ball, now you gotta run with it. You don't go get another ball. You've caught this one, let's run it in. You've gotta work with what the algorithm, what the results give you. It's very hard to know early on specifically what you are doing is going to work. What of what you're doing is going to work. So all these numbers, all these audits, all this stuff you check, and I know it sounds complicated, but it's telling you what you need to know. It's very valuable information. Phase 2, strategies. And you're always going to have strategies. You're always going to want to be making strategies. I'm always strategizing. And they don't always pan out. You got to have a plan B and C. Investigating trends. Now, you know there's a top trending tab in YouTube. Again, we all watch YouTube. And that doesn't mean you have to do what's in that trending tab. But there's valuable ideas in those trends. You may have something to deliver on those subjects. Seems like the top games are always, Fortnite, Minecraft. Help me out here. I mean, there's, it's usually the same 3 games in that space that are top trending. I'm not saying you have to go in there and do exactly what other people are doing, but what can you offer that? What can you improve on that? And what of those keywords that they're using can you also use? If there's something going on there in that trending space that you want to do, that may be where you find your hit. What applies to your topic? Again, if any of that ties into what you were already trying to do anyway, like, hey, I want to be a Minecraft channel. Well, great, there's a billion of those. But that's very viable depending on what you have to offer. The people that are into modding and all the stuff that not just everybody can do. Figure out what they're doing that's working, and then that's what you're going to build on. And you've got to investigate other successes to scale. This is very important because I talk about this with a lot of you other content creators. Like, hey, you could have made that same video, right? But it wouldn't have done what it did for this creator because they've got this huge existent viewer base that would watch them, standing still and picking their nose for 2 hours. They're at that level in their career, and a lot of us are not. You've got to look at what other people are doing and see what those successes entail. If you see that somebody had a hit on something, but it was 3 years ago, that may not be hot anymore. You need to look and see some things that are more recent, and you need to see, again, the scaling. What size are these channels that are having these successes? Again, did they tap into a viewer base or did they already have one? I mean, you can't look at the most popular YouTubers and say, I'll just do their video and I'll get their views, because that's obviously not going to happen. It might, but it probably won't. You've got to make sure that there's people that are your size, in your space, having similar successes recently. If you research all that, you can get a better handle on how hot the fire still is on a specific topic or genre or whatever before you tap into it. Again, better, not new. That's something you hear a lot of guru people talk about in many spaces, but it really rings true in YouTube. You can't make something new. Okay, that sounds so defeatist, but you can't. You can't create something that didn't exist 5 minutes ago because no one's searching for something that doesn't exist because they don't know it exists. That's the recipe for failure. Everything in YouTube is reverse engineered. You've got to look, hey, this is working, I could do that. Or that's working, I could do that. Or this is good, I have something I could add to this. That's what you've got to look at. Anything non-existent isn't being searched. Don't create, innovate. What could you do better? What could you do better than what you were seeing? It's like, hey, I've beaten that game 6 ways from Sunday. I know all the codes. I've modded it 15 times. They're not talking about all these things. Well, there you go. You may have a winner there. But you have to keep the focus narrow and attract one big audience, not many little ones. I got many little ones, and that was rough, man, because 1 minute I'm looking at role-playing games, the next minute I'm doing Call of Duty, but I do all things. I play a lot of different freaking games, but that was the wrong thing to do because I wasn't clicking in my mind that, oh, well, the Call of Duty guy's not going to watch this role-playing game. It was in my mind that, well, they might, right? Maybe they play games like me and they just do all kind of games. No, they don't. Most people don't. They're on there looking for one specific thing, and you're competing for a very small amount of their time that you hope that you can get from them. So again, it's got to be down to at least a genre and preferably one game if you can do it, or one thing. You will not be all things to all gamers. We just covered that. Pick a genre. Even better, one game. I've seen a lot of people succeed in the space recently starting a channel based around one game. This one cat does like NBA 2K content, and the dude's like a dynamo. Like, you would not beat this guy in a game of 2K. He's nasty. Unlocking all the good cards, all the best players, 99 overall, and he's got a huge following now. He even hit YouTube Gamer on the Rise, which that's tough to do. I did it, blew my mind. This guy did it doing one game, and he didn't need 7 years, right? I see these channels popping up. They ain't been around even 2 years, some of them. They're killing it. And it's because he's focused. And what a great product he has, right? Because when he's done with 2K23, 2K24 is going to drop. He never has to stop this. He's got an ever-flowing well of happiness. Doesn't have to be just a sports game, though. Diablo 4 just dropped. Who else playing Diablo 4 in here? I mean, my God, what a game. The thought crossed my mind that, man, make a Diablo 4 channel and just quit doing everything you're doing. Because it's hot as fire. There's people looking for that stuff. They want to know everything they can find out about it. And if you can be the person that provides that, you already know there's a user base out there for you. Upload on YouTube. Of course, do not stream. Don't. YouTube isn't a streaming platform. And I'm not saying bad things about YouTube when I say that. It's just not a streaming platform. And when they made changes to how streamed and live content processed and how it actually hits, it ruined the visibility of it, because there's instances where a stream won't process for 24, 48 hours sometimes. So after it's not live anymore, it's not showing up. So where that hurts you is if you were streaming a day one play of a game that just came out, but it's not going to be visible for the next 24 hours after you click it off, it's over. I mean, that thing's toast. In 24 hours, that was your window to get this thing off the ground. It's like a plane trying to take off. You've got to be able to be visible. The live content just hits it a different way. So unless you're streaming for business purposes, like you're selling something or something like that, there's no reason to stream on YouTube. There's other platforms for that. To succeed on YouTube, it's got to be uploaded content. I streamed for about 3 years. It was a complete waste of time. It was fun, but it yielded nothing in the way of growth, because even the people that would watch the streams, eventually they move on and they watch something else. So that's just not sustainable on that platform. But I see a lot of people that think, well, I'm going to upload and then I'll do 3 streams a week. And you're killing your content, because maybe you'll have uploads that do well, but in between you'll have these streams that just 20, 30 people show up for. Well, the algorithm doesn't know what to do with you anymore, because it's success, failure, success, failure. It just doesn't think to put this, out there for anybody, because you have something called CTR, your click-through ratio. What that means is when you're scrolling, right? And all the things you're not clicking on, because it makes impressions, right? The video starts to play even though you don't click on it, but you didn't click on it. So it's telling the algorithm, the platform, that you're not interested in that video as a viewer. So when someone does that to you, that's a stream, it's not live anymore. When they do that to you, that tells the algorithm, I don't need to recommend this channel to this person. They're skipping it. They're moving past it. That's bad too, because the notifications, they're not going to hit every time when you upload. You need to be in people's feeds. And to be in people's feeds all the time, you got to make sure that every single thing you do is something that they're going to click on. Content should provide info and answer questions. 2 most important things that a YouTube channel can do. Your video, if it provides some kind of info, that's golden. Because think about how you use YouTube. Oh man, this isn't working. Okay, how to do, and then you wait, and then 3 videos come up, and you watch one, and then you learn how to do it. You just watch somebody's video because they were providing information. And because they can put your literal question verbatim in their title. You ever notice when you look at and you may not have noticed, but you ever notice when you look at videos, you look up on how to format a Nintendo Wii or how to fix this with Windows 10. The videos are never like 17 views. They're always into like the tens of thousands or more, because they're providing something that many people obviously needed to look up. So that was a viable plan. And to answer questions, right? There has to be, that can be in the title, the question itself. It should be something that someone's going to type in, and you're golden. But that's the 2 most important things you can do. You hope that you're entertaining too at the end of the day, but yeah, to actually have proprietary knowledge, information about what you're doing, and not just, hey, watch me play a game. That's important. It's really hard to make it otherwise. Phase 3, the anatomy of a video. This is good stuff. 70% retention at the 30-second mark. YouTube Studio shows this stat. What that means is that 70% of the people that clicked on that video were still watching at 30 seconds. And why that's important is because you can lose people in 3 seconds. Once you got them for 30 seconds, you've probably got them. You still may not, but you should have them. It all depends on what comes next. So you're kind of the boss of that, right? But when you see that you're not hitting that mark, and I can tell you all my videos hit that mark, I check. Maybe they didn't years ago, but they do now. Then you know that no one's clicking off because the intro was too long, and no one's clicking off because they're like, oh, this is clickbait, this isn't what I thought it was. You know, you've got them. And it should never be clickbait. It should be exactly what you promised. But that clickbait term gets misconstrued with, oh, well, you tried to make this so people would click on it. Well, yeah, I did, but as long as I deliver, it wasn't bait, there was something there. Leading into the next thing. Lead with a clip or an intro with the hook and the bait. And I'm guilty of doing this, I did it for years. Don't start out the video with, yo, what's up, my name's so-and-so, and welcome back to my channel, and I just picked up my grandma's dry cleaning, and today I'm having a hamburger, and stop. The first second of the first line of your video should be what we're doing. Is it possible to do X with Y? And if possible, what happens? Stick around to find out. Get them right there. It's like, okay, I want to know. I want to know what happens next. I got so absorbed with thinking that I would be some kind of personality and that people would like me. Turns out a lot of people don't. But a lot of people do. But it may not end up being about you. If it is, that's great. That's a very valuable commodity. But it can be about the content too. Sometimes I've looked at stuff I've done and thought, heck, I didn't even need to be in this video. It could have just been my voice, you know? It's more about what it provided or what it told or what it was about. So you lead with that clip and then your intro. Get them hooked right away. And then the hook, the bait. Let them know what you're going to be doing, but don't give away what happens right away. Don't say, hey, I just found 10 PS4s in a dumpster and I'm going to tell you where it was. And lead up to that. Say, what did we find? What happens in this thing? What happens if you do this? Make sure they're going to stick around for at least 50% of what you did, because that retention becomes a very important stat later on too. Videos that perform well in every aspect of what we're talking about, all these stats that of course you'll audit and research, are ones that you know can be sustainable long term, that can be visible long term, that you can still be making ad revenue off of 4 years after you do them. I've done emulation videos that people still hit me up on all the time, like, hey, could you go over this part again? And I'll humor them, like, yeah, this is what you do. But it's like, man, this thing's been up a long time and there's still people hitting this. It still shows up in Google search results, you know, outside of YouTube, we're pulling people in. We talked about this at the beginning. Channel intro, branding, logo should be about 3 or 4 second tops, never more. And I'm still seeing intros that are half a minute. And it's like, I never had that, but it's like, you're not a sitcom, you can't do that. And nobody wants to watch that. And then don't say that, well, they can just skip it. No. You're going to learn real quick in this business that you can't expect or put on your viewer to do things. You might get them to do one thing, click, sub, something. You're not going to get them to do a bunch of stuff. They're not going to be that vested in it. Not early on, anyway. All right, I think we're doing good here. Assume all viewers are new. Don't welcome them back. This was something I heard somebody say recently that was interesting to me. I always welcome people back. Welcome back to the show. That's really a waste of time, right? Because you hope you're getting new viewers every time, and you're not welcoming them back. They've never been here before. And the people that are there, they should feel welcome anyway if you're doing the right thing from a community standpoint, responding to your comments, and interacting with people genuinely, which I hope you would. So don't waste time with the big, yeah, welcome back to my channel, and yo-de-do, do-de-do. Focus on the hook. Like I said, get straight to the point and don't prattle. I watched some of my old game hunting videos from about 5 years ago recently, and I wanted to throw up. I never thought I was that bad, but oh my God, what's the point, Ventura? It was taking forever for me to say what was happening. So no wonder that wasn't working. Nobody was watching it for more than 20 seconds. They got to know right away what they're there for, and they need you to promise right away that they're getting that. CTAs after a high point. That's a call to action. And what I mean by that is when you say, drop a like on this video, you can subscribe on this video, make sure that you smack that notification bell so you're always the first to know when new content goes live. You got to ask for that stuff, right? And there's a lot of opinions on this. Now, a lot of people are like, oh, man, you're begging. Don't ask people to like your videos. Don't ask them to say, yeah, that's really slimy. Man, don't listen to all that. I'm so sick of the anti-creator hate. Don't listen to those fools. Don't listen to anybody that says that. Now, you don't want to be annoying with it. That's where they kind of have some merit to what they're telling you. But there's ways to not be annoying with it. In fact, you can just have stuff on screen, and you're going to find that a lot of your editing softwares that you'll eventually get into using have little stickers and animations you can paste right on the screen that click the like button and the subscribe button. You don't even have to say it sometimes. You just put it up there. And hopefully you're catching them. But you want those after a high point. Like, right after you've done something impressive in the video. For example, I'm the game hunter, right? I just found a PS4 for $10 or whatever. Awesome. I'm high-fiving God in my head, and I'm making the deal with the guy on screen. Right after that, I'm going to put on the screen like and subscribe, because I hope the viewer at that moment has just realized the value or the entertainment that I'm providing, and they're going to be like, yeah, oh yeah, okay, yeah, I am liking and subscribing. This is awesome so far. I like this and I want to watch more of it. And again, the earlier the better, because even when I have my best videos, they're 11, 12 minutes. On average, people are watching 7 or 8 minutes, and they may have loved it, but God, people's attention spans, they don't stick around for the whole thing sometimes. Sometimes they do, but if that CTA is earlier on, that's better, because you need to catch them then. A lot of people say, no, you only do it at the end when you've earned it. It's like, yeah, but that doesn't hold up, because if they're not there at the end, they're not going to see it. People will forget. They might have loved what you did and not like it or subscribe, and it's not anything to do with you or the video. It's nothing personal. People have to be told to do things. I know, I do. Sometimes you're so engrossed in it, you're not even thinking about it, that you can just go boop with your thumb and drastically help this creator out. And you should help a creator out if you like what they're doing. I mean, it's the same way you watch a show or, and give it ratings. If nobody gets behind things, they get canceled. This is real life, right? This is not much different. The verbal part is optional. And, the people are like, man, I hope you're going to like my video, subscribe to it, and, and make sure you donate to my Patreon, and follow me on Instagram, follow me on Snapchat, follow me on Twitter, Stop. They're not going to do all that, dude. And that's that kind of stuff does bother people. You should never do that. And if you are doing it, stop. If for no other reason that, again, you might be lucky enough to get someone to do one thing. They're not going to do all 15 of those things. So I try to break up my CTAs. I'll flash drop a like at one point and maybe subscribe in a little while. You really want those likes, because that interaction drives the crap out of your view count and the visibility. It shows that people are interacting with it. It's telling YouTube that, okay, this is getting clicks. This is making us money. This is going to continue to be visible for weeks on end, months on end, maybe years on end, depending on how much you're getting. I think verbal is good, because it kind of gives you a chance to tell the person. And you can do it on a personal note. It's like, hey man, hit that notification bell so you don't miss the next video when I do this. I'm letting you know what value is in it for you. There's ways to do it without being annoying. And yeah, still do one at the end too. You should always close out that way. 2 CTAs per episode, I think, is worthwhile. And I have results to show that ones that you don't do it in, you don't get as much. I have actually researched this. And again, yeah, only haters will contest this. Don't listen to the people that don't want to see you succeed. And a lot of them are successful people. They know there's competition out there. Yeah, there's a lot of people in the world using YouTube, but we all have time as a commodity, and you are competing for people's time. If you do one type of content, say arcade content, so does this guy. Well, the viewer watching this guy only had 8 minutes on the toilet or on his lunch break or on the train or wherever he was, but he watched that instead of you, or he watched you instead of that guy. One of you has something to worry about there. Some people watch everybody, but you can't count on that. Now, we may have already covered this. Testing's still underway. Only ask for one thing in a CTA, the thing that's most currently important to you. I'll touch on this a little bit more. If you want to do a lot of likes for one thing, yeah, focus on the likes. Maybe ask for likes that video, because sometimes you're going to get the subscription anyway. But if you're really trying to drive engagement and you want to see the likes, ask for likes. You can really play around with your content and see what really helps it sometimes. And as far as the comment goes, you really want to find something that's going to drive people to comment. You're going to want to ask them a question you know they're going to want to answer. Like I was looking at a copy of Far Cry 6 in my last episode. So out of nowhere I just said, all you Far Cryers out there, what's your favorite Far Cry? You know, and genuinely asking. I'm not just trying to be like vanity stat about it and just never reply. I had a good talk with a lot of the replies about which ones they liked and which ones I still have to get to. It's great, but that interaction is awesome. When you're getting comments as well as the likes and all that, again, that interaction, that's what really blows up a video. Ask for comments, we covered that. Interaction breeds visibility and promotion. That visibility is what you've got to get. It's got to stay in people's feeds. And editing software, again, will have animations for these. You're going to want to make sure you flash on the screen. Words are important. You think about how much you read. Everybody watches shorts, right? Everybody's engrossed in TikTok these days. And the ones with the narration on screen, you find that you are reading that. I mean, I know I do. I don't have to have that. I can hear the person speak, but the words are doing something. So at the very least, if it says comment below, I don't know, there's a mental psychology to it. All right. I hate that we don't have 5 hours to do this because it would take it to get through all of it. Again, the point in this is letting you know that I've got classes upon classes that I can offer that I want to do with people individually, and there'll be ways to contact me to set that up post-presentation. But we're going to try to get through as much of this as humanly possible. The anatomy of an upload. Title. Keywords first. The most important things. The keywords. What they're searching for. If Wii U is trending and you're doing a Wii U video, Wii U better be the first word in that title. Not, I drove to my grandma's house, parked her car, went up to the attic, and found her Wii U, exclamation point. No, the Wii U had to be first. A lot of this sounds like common knowledge, but it's just like, it's stuff that you have to be thinking about at the time that you're making the title. And that vidIQ, that AI plug in there can really help you look at, maybe I could have worded this differently. Sites like Ubersuggest, again, I'm not affiliated with any of these things, but Ubersuggest is a website, it's free to use. They do have paid versions, but it's free to use. It reports search traffic in Google on given keywords. So not just for YouTube, for Google as a whole. Are people actively looking for what I'm talking about? And if you look at a keyword and it's not doing squat, then maybe this isn't gonna work. But it should be doing something, right? And there's a lot of comparative information there in the charts that it's gonna pull up on that so that you can see, like, okay, people are still looking for this, so we may have a shot. There's research you gotta do beyond that, but the title seems like such a small part of it, and yet it ends up being the biggest part, right? Because it's the face of the whole thing. And it's what's gonna land. It's even more important than the thumbnail. Thumbnail that people, you gotta have better thumbnails, better thumbnails. Yeah, you do need better thumbnails, you do. But they're never gonna see your thumbnail if the title doesn't get it in front of their face. So that does become a secondary thing. Search your vid topic. See what similar successful videos used for their titles. Now, I'm not telling you to steal somebody's title, but you can correctly identify what those keywords are and how they apply to what you're doing. Because the keyword is not only the subject of the title, the sentence, but also what you did. Mod, weapons pack, DLC. What is this about? How are they going to find this? And you got to make sure that you're not sandwiching it in with a keyword here and a keyword there and a bunch of emojis and bull crap in between, because it may not hit. 60 characters or less. This is an important thing that I don't see everyone using. And I don't even use it all the time, because sometimes I just have more to say than that. But this is one of the things that the vidIQ audit grades you on in its overall SEO post-upload score. Did you use a title with 60 characters or less? And the reason for this, the reason they make it that, is because they think that if there's less to read, it's going to be more gripping, obviously, for people. And that is true from a psychological standpoint, but what gets really important is that SEO score. Because YouTube ain't trying to mess with nobody that ain't getting a good SEO score. So that's where the whole, people got into for a while saying, oh, tags don't matter, tags don't matter. Even vidIQ had to disclose that tags may not matter because they were charging people for tag optimization. But tags do matter because it doesn't matter what they are, too. It doesn't matter what the tag is as long as it's getting that score. We're going to get into that in a second too. If you're hitting your peak SEO score before upload, there is so much more of a chance that video is going to be that much more visible, not just to your subs, but for anyone searching for things in that space, because it's going to put it out there. It's going to mess with it. That's what the algorithm is for. A lot of people say, oh, the algorithm hates me. The algorithm doesn't hate you. It's not alive. It doesn't have feelings. It just works off numbers. And you have to give it those numbers, because when you do, you have given yourself, your piece of content, the best chance at starting out right each and every time. So again, vidIQ AI can offer recommendations for a final look. I don't always use them, but I always take a look. And you get like 10 free ones a month. vidIQ, you don't have to pay for it. There are paid tiers if you want more stuff out of them, but I think I do the $10 tier a month because I make that in ad revenue and beyond, obviously. So if the project pays for itself, that's great. But there's a lot of free stuff that vidIQ offers that you're going to use every time, and it's great. Description. This is a huge one. Oh man, we need another hour. Description. 3 hashtags at the top, not in your title, in the description, the big box under the title. The 3 hashtags at the top, and they audit themselves with the drop-down menu. When you put in hashtag GameStop, hashtag game hunting, hashtag Diablo 4, whatever it is, the drop-down menu will come up if you've accurately put the hashtag with the words. And it will show you that and other hashtags that are similar, and under each one, how many videos and uploads and views are there pertaining to that hashtag. So right then, before you decide on the 3 hashtags, you can audit them to make sure that it's a workable hashtag. Everybody knows what their parents' hashtags look like on social media. Hashtag my grandma's flowers or something stupid. It's like, grandma, that's not how hashtags work. You want to make sure that you have a workable hashtag. There's not a whole lot of analytics to show how much that helps, but something that takes 2 seconds that's in line with what we know anatomy should and could be, why not just do it? And the reason only 3 is because it's said that if you overload it with hashtags, that starts to confuse the algorithm as far as spamming and whatnot. That could create a negative effect. Don't ask me why it's 3, but the general consensus is it's 3. So make it 3. Select the high traffic ones. Paste the vid title 3 times in the description. I usually paste it once, do a write-up, paste it again, maybe some links if you have them for whatever, or information about the games in the video, paste it again. The reason is to satisfy the tripled keyword stat in the SEO score. That is part of your SEO score. Are the keywords from the title tripled up in the description? It's just something it looks for. You're trying to appease this SEO god. You want that 50% perfect score before uploading to where maybe you can get toward the 100% score post-uploading. That's what creates the visibility. That's what keeps things rocking. Separate the paste tiles with the info, said that, a 300 character minimum, and you'll see at the bottom of the description, it's counting every letter you put in. So you want at least 300 characters in your description. It's looking for that. Tags don't contribute to visibility. No, they don't. But they contribute to the base SEO scores, which contribute to visibility. So even if the tag doesn't pertain to your video, I mean, you should optimally make sure that it does, that SEO score is what's important. And every time you put in a tag, in the upper right-hand corner, you'll see that vidIQ score, you'll see it change. Or if it doesn't, it means the tag wasn't relevant to it. Or if it goes down, bad tag, erase it, do another one. You can't just necessarily copy and paste someone else's scores, because that score won't be the same for you. You have to manually make that number hit 50 out of 50 before you upload. It's tedious, but I find that it's a very important thing to do. We're going to go over this here, and then I think we're going to take some questions. I don't want to run over, but I can't tell you everything about a YouTube channel in one session, so I just told myself we're going to get through as much of this stuff as we can. That's what the after-the-fact consulting is for. I will be glad to work with anyone one-on-one. Begin to enter each tag, then select from the top selected in the drop-down menu. Just like the hashtags, when you put in a tag in the tag field, it drops down to 6 or 7 other tags that are like what you're doing, and you're always going to want to take the top one. It might be what you were already typing in, or it may be something that's relative to it, but like, oh, I didn't think about that. That's better than what I was doing. Go with that. Watch that number go up. And we already talked about the 50-50 in the top right. You're watching that number. That's what you're trying to hit. You can hit 50 every time. I didn't know that years ago. I was hitting 46, 48. Like, that's close enough. That's good. It's not good enough. Ever. Cards should optimally be near a video's end. Who knows what cards are on a video? That little bar that appears sometimes in the upper right when you're watching somebody, it's another one of their videos. Now, if you put it in the video somewhere because you're saying, hey, if you missed the first episode of this, click right here and you can catch up. That's okay, but you still don't really want to do that there. And the reason is this. If they're only a minute into the show, you don't want to tell your viewer to click off of the video. That's a terrible thing to ask them to do in your best interest. You want to save them toward the end because they may not click it anyway. But you can also put something like that anywhere in the video. Like, hey, hope you enjoyed this. And if you wanted to catch the first episode of this series or the first 10 episodes of this series, it can be a playlist. I'm going to put the link right here so that you can click here and keep the action going right now. And that keeps them on your channel, but it makes sure that they finish the video first. You want credit for a card because that's part of the SEO score that you used a card. But you don't want people clicking off early. The end screens come right after that. The last 20 seconds of your video should have a sub button and a related video that you can prompt viewers to continue on to. Sub button, of course, that's your last chance to get them to sub if they haven't already done it. And the related video so that you don't have to let them know the video's ending. You don't want to start this big long intro, and I always used to do this. Man, thanks so much for watching this video. It's been a great time. Hope you enjoy this. We got all these games, what we want done, hoot, 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 talking. They're gone. You're not talking to anybody. They've already clicked to the next thing. You should end on a dime. All right, we did good today. Made lots of money, grabbed lots of things, and we're going to grab even more next week. And if you want to see what we got in that video, I'm going to put the link right here. Or you probably didn't see this video about this, or if you want to learn more about doing this to this, I'll put a video right here so that you can keep the action going. Get them right into the next video. Make sure they watch 3 or 4 things that you've done. This is how we grip people. We will keep going until the very last minute here, but I want to take a minute for questions because I know I've just spouted off a lot of stuff, and there's a lot more stuff. Again, you're going to have a leg up if you actually do schedule time with me to do anything because you'll have already seen everything up until this point. But before I continue on, anybody have questions about what we've talked about so far?
Mm-hmm. And I'm wondering about the difference between seeing it on a phone and on YouTube on a computer because you can't really on your phone. I hope I'm phrasing this right. You can't really you can put a box up on your and you can see it on your phone, but then you can't, as far as I can tell, you can't go to it on your phone. Am I wrong about that?
You should be able to click the card. Now, I don't know, maybe if something was done wrong on the upload end, I don't know, maybe something burped in processing, but you should be able to click the card. I make sure I can click all of mine, and then sometimes I do it on other creators that I watch if it's something I genuinely want to go look at. So you should be able to do that. But the most important thing, even if they don't use your cards at all, the most important thing is you got credit for putting it on there, right? That SEO score after the fact, the visibility. I mean, you hope that someone will continue to watch what you're doing, but most importantly, you just want to make sure it's there to begin with. Yes, sir.
You mentioned some of the software, and it sounds like it's all pretty cheap. Is there anything that's like unusually expensive that would either really help out a lot, or that's indispensable, or can you get started relatively inexpensively?
You can get started really inexpensively. For everybody that's on an iPhone, you've probably already got iMovie. That's already on your phone. That's not going to cost you anything. And you can really make some neat stuff with iMovie. It's not going to be, Hollywood grade or anything, but sometimes it can be hard to tell because there's a lot of stuff on there now that wasn't on there years ago when I was just using it. And a lot of times I do some soft editing on iMovie before I upload it to my main software so that a lot of the cutting for stuff is already gone. I use Wondershare Filmora, which is relatively inexpensive. It's about $60, I think, for the license. Now, there are softwares that cost hundreds and even thousands, and maybe they're better, I don't know, but at a certain point, if you've got enough money for that, you've probably got enough money to pay someone to do your editing anyway. I know so many creators that don't even do their own videos anymore, and I'm not saying get into that necessarily. When you're starting out, that's not an expense or an overhead that you can have, but yeah, there's a lot of softwares out there that are under $100 for permanent lifetime licenses. They're gonna give you everything you need, everything from background musics to those on-screen animations we talked about, to just everything that you need to make something that's going to stand up against any competition out there.
I'm sorry I came in late, but
ain't no thing.
Did you touch upon, like, do you have a frequency? Like, I follow you, I know you put out stuff regularly. Is putting out something on a regular basis, and what is that sweet spot for upcomers compared to somebody like you? Or
So,
is it just push it out?
Well, you can definitely push it out if it's good. That's never going to be a bad thing. But I think what you're asking is that, an upload schedule and how important that is. We did touch on that you should have at least 2 uploads a week minimum, because that's what the vidIQ dashboard and everything's looking for on its checklist. Did you at least upload twice this week? But we also talked about peak times to upload. You can look on the vidIQ extension and on your YouTube Studio extension and see when your users specifically are on, so that if you can hit right on that hour or maybe a little before, those people are on their phones and they're probably getting those notifications, so you're grabbing them at a good point. The most important thing is, if you're going to make a schedule, center it around that. Like, all my people are on Wednesday at 3 o'clock. I guess that's when my upload is every week. And maybe the second best thing is where your other one comes in, maybe a Wednesday and a Friday. Whatever it tells you, the numbers will tell you. There's not a lot of concrete information to prove that a definitive upload schedule helps, but I have to say that it obviously must, right? I mean, just from a psychological standpoint, when your favorite show comes on, Walking Dead's on Sunday night as an example, when the show's on, right? So by the numbers, it's got to help people to know when it's going to drop. So even if they miss the notification, right, they know it was probably uploaded. They're going to go looking for it. So definitely something you want to do. What else have we got?
What about social cross-platform posting? Like, do you see you get more traffic to YouTube from Facebook, or more from Twitter, or?
I haven't messed with any of that. And the reason is because at one point, doing cross-platform stuff was actually frowned upon, because all these platforms are their own competition. I think it's important just to succeed on YouTube first. In fact, I've had very limited luck doing anything on socials, period. I know I'm probably largely alone on that, because a lot of these young folks on Instagram are just killing it, and they're bringing that stuff over to YouTube. I don't think they're bringing YouTube to anywhere else. But I also don't think a lot of their successes are largely in part just to having been on those socials. Sometimes maybe it is, but I think it's important to succeed on YouTube first. The social stuff, you can do that alongside. In fact, you should. There's so many things we haven't gotten to yet, because I knew we wouldn't get to everything in this presentation. There's just too much of it. But one of your SEO score things is to have shared your content on Facebook with 1 like. That's on the checklist, if that helps. So you at least want to be posting your stuff there, right? But not necessarily making that. I mean, a lot of people have done content and actually uploaded it there, like trying to be something on there and on the platform, rather than just doing it from a marketing standpoint. I think it's just important that you do what the checklists are telling you to do. So, and at one point, Twitter was part of that checklist, and now it's not. It's just Facebook. So you always got to observe how the goalposts move too. But man, we've hit the 2 o'clock mark. And I wish that we could keep talking about this, because there's obviously still a lot of stuff to talk through, a lot of meat, a lot of potatoes. It's just more than you can go over in 1 hour. But again, like I said, for any of you that decide you want to sign up for a consult, in the future, the business cards in your seat, and I've got more up here that you can take before you go, have got my links on it where you can hit me up. We can schedule things. We can apply any and all of this directly to what you're doing or what you're going to aspire to do, so that you've got these clear and concise strategies to get on the ground floor with or to move forward with from where you are. And it's just absolutely so important. And all of you are going to have a leg up on that because you've already gotten through all of this. We're not going to have to backtrack through any of it. We can go from this point forward and really maximize all of our time and get the most out of it. But hey, I'm Emceemur. I want to thank all of you for coming and spending this hour with me. It was absolutely fantastic. And above all, it's so great to be back at SFGE once again. I want to thank them for having me, and I hope all of you enjoy the rest of the expo. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, well, class not dismissed. That's right. That was just the tip of the iceberg, and I mean the tip of the iceberg. But it's a great head start so as to maximize your time with me when we get started, when we get down to business. An hour consultation with YouTube gurus I've seen run as much as $250. To do an hour with me, you're looking at only $39.99. Money that you are definitely going to get back. I mean, you can make that back in a single video, right? You got to know what you're doing though. You want to get on the good foot. You want to get this started outright. And to show you appreciation for giving this a look, I'm going to be starting my sessions out at only $29.99, at least through the end of the year. Again, I want to get help to creators that need it, to people that maybe haven't monetized, maybe for some that have monetized but aren't seeing the growth that they want to see. You know, everybody needs help along the way, and what it does is it saves time. Time is the most valuable commodity any of us have as creators. I've been at this 7 years now, and I can tell you, I wished I had known every last bit of this and more when I started out. It would have saved so much time, and I'd be so much further along now. It's unbelievable what all of this can do for you if you implement it, especially at the very beginning of your YouTube journey. Schedule your consult with me right now by either following me and DMing me on Twitter at Emceemur or by emailing me directly at the email address you'll find in the description of this video. I look forward to hearing from you and working with each and every one of you that want to give this a shot. You won't regret it. Let's put this hustle behind your creative muscle. Emceemur, signing off.